Tompa Chomden Ayanda Pazo Sangi Ripa Dan Shapsu Denpa Deva Shekpa Jiten Kempa Dibudue Halo Gyurwa Lana Me Paladan Minam Ti Tampa Somgi Chomden De Pelyawa Shakya Tupala Chakselo Chodu Gyapsu Chi O Kanse Kani Tsu Kyo Tamse Sachendi La Gompa Dumbone Nani Jitendi Na Choche Sun Ese Ke Pa Kyo La Chakselo Namda Koma Chotu Sun Zanwa Ese Gatso Sergi Lon Podra Papa Jiten Sun La Na Mewa Konko Chugyu Chula Chakselo Sencho Den Padri Me Da We Shel Serdu Drawa Kyula Jakselo, Dudra Kyudra Sripa Sumachi, Kame Kenchen Jula Jakselo, Pompe tu Jeje Dempa, Tamche Kempe Tampapo, Sona Yon Tenga Sushin, Asian Shela Jakselo, Ape Dutra Drawagyu, Ewe Nyan Sun Le Jujing, Chidu Don Dam Chogyu Pa, Shigyu Chula Jakselo, Onedro Wela Yanzun, Apada Baratune, Shingi Dapa Yuntenden, Yendula Yang Takselo, Ipachi Ami Jashin, Gewa Punso So Pagu, Magi Semni Onsudu, Deni Sangi Tempayin, Amara Rima Medan, Gumazi Pacho Budan, Milano Dandri Tabu, Duje Chonam De Tata, Sonam Di Tamche Sikpayi, Opantone Kyungi Dradute, Adananda Chiwe La Drupe, Sripe Sole Drowa Drowa Sho. Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain, the great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should the son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Sharadvati Putra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra. Like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight, and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, noble Avalokiteshvara, that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharadvati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the word of the Blessed One. Lamadan. Nangi Well then, so Lama Rinpoche.
Ranja Sura Kya Daye Taba Jebe Joma Jebe Take Zeba Sunde Shenye Nala Sovade Sunde Shenye Nala Sovade Jewa Gundo Yanda Lama Demi Chuju Bela Nose Doje Changye Gobo Nyado Doje Changye Gobo Nyado Chu Sanje Chuna Zuje Chuna Shangchu Bodo Dane Josu Nage Chuchi Chive Zuna Dola Pishe Sanje Again, you want to pay
Is Nima here?
Yeah, Nima's here. You have to unmute yourself, Nima.
Yes, sir.
Yes, hello, Nima.
Hey,
Hello.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Rinpoche, can you guys see Rinpoche?
Yeah, they need to go there.
Yes, we have. Yep, we can see both of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't see Rinpoche.
Me
I
neither.
don't see him. I don't see Rinpoche.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, here he is. Yeah.
Chris, I think somehow Ken is the active speaker. Did you do something to?
Yeah, I just can't see Rinpoche, so.
Again, you need to go to us.
It's like
That's it. We're going to check the para.
I think it's on your end, but you, because I did nothing.
The Pola again.
There we go.
Oh,
That's
that's just.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
That's good. Really good.
Yeah. Again, you must take that.
That's good.
Dongo ma soge tujin cha, tujin ma cha cha na yi dongo mi kamani so ji degi salada.
As usual, let's begin our, meditation in the beginning.
Nga zo mi ba zo mi ba che de temba tu bi ambo de che da salada. Tu bi temba tu bi ambo de range mi sa yin de na ka de ni la. Gang mi ba se tu tu che da salada.
좀 전에 연결 성경 아직 체도 돼요.
temba tu bi ambo ye da ko ni sa na de da da shi yue je rang xi ji ku je rang ge mi sa yin de na ka de ni la.
So let's focus our meditation on by visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni in front of oneself at the level of one's brows or one's forehead, and try one's best to visualize as vivid as possible.
Nga zo che da mi ba che ngi so na yin chi mi ji thoma le dong bo se gang je be ga la. Dengi mi ba de la se bo cha ge do ya san de shu de jiao ji men do a. Liang ga che shu de san ba de shu lo lo men yo de shu che wa che gu do a.
So for us as a initial practitioner, we're not supposed to focus fully on the object of meditation, but rather you must try your best to withdraw your mind inward and try not your mind be out of your own stream of being. So in other words, try to concentrate your mind and don't let mind scattered everywhere.
Yu su lang zu mi si ya ka si ke me bi ko la. Mi si gen de la mi na se bo ke ma yu na un jong mo chen ne san ba 유니트 네트워크 제와이나 선비 장식이 외세와기 10비 당차대 해와이나 아니 강사랑이는 대항 레바체 아니 메바 젠다를 제어데 레라와 되게 깔레 메비 돈에 조바게 손하래 되지 진사로.
So the very one of the you know good practice or the technique to really to bring about a full concentration on one's meditation is to first try to train oneself by following one's mind on the breathing exercise. In other words, respiration, cycle of breathing in and out by focusing your mind on your breath when you breathe in and breathe out. So try to focus your mind on that. With this kind of practice, that allows the clarity of your mind activates. And with this activation of clarity of your mind will then allow you to, concentrate very, precisely later on when you meditate.
아빠들만 저 생바슐로로 메뉴에 우중모도 슈치버 제토에나 소소 주고 놀라라 장롱도에 슈치였잖아요. 아니 주부 최대라 상법부수도 되려야 빼면서 편도 정보여도 봐.
So it is also help us to clean our, physical body and winds and channels with this, and which is also, as we spoke earlier, that enables you to have a clear visualizations and clear or the the better concentrations.
아, 되지. 아니 대다 미바 제토는 가서 돈에 요구 좀 제토 하나는 세자로와. 제가 가서 되는 게 뭐 저기 제토 그래. 토마텔라 이 정답이 주들라 미식이 돈에 스케메제 3번 메뉴에 나다라. 제 아니 대해서 뒤서도 야고 우중은 야고 저기가 레서나 양치 돈에 된데 자대 제도에 아니 다시 돈에 야고도.
So one should do this breathing exercise or the breathing meditations in conjunction with the practice of giving and receiving, Tonglen, or the giving and receiving, giving and taking. So in the beginning, you should try to, fully concentrate on breathing alone. Only the breathing, focusing your mind only on the breathing, that, circle of breathing, and circle of your breath. And once you are able to stabilize such practice, one should then try to, follow the practice of Tonglen or the giving and receiving along with breathing exercise.
다마도 단독거서 뭐 까마 송어지지 아니 데리미바 책이다.
So at this point, let's take about 3 minutes to meditate.
내가 쳐버려도 아니지만 된다가 인지미지 내를 미남을 제가지 삼박코로라는 야투에 가운데 공부치 소화에서나 sembage랑 어디 시에서도 semba 젠바 통용에 되게 대한 수치고 수준에는 내가 친구 수요에서도 알려던 거라 인지미지 내를 미바치 젠나 우주 잡고 왔지
So,
가운데 내가 친구 살에
so for us, as we spoke about earlier, that as a initial practitioners, it is important for us to, maintain our mind. In other words, not letting our mind scatter everywhere. Try to, control one's mind and withdraw one's mind and be with one's mind and not scattering your mind. That is a very important part because this will help us to, really to, bring activation of our, actual mind itself. And so for us at this point, as a initial practitioners, one should not really emphasize more on visual object of one's meditation, whatever the object of one's meditation one may have chosen. Try not to really to focus and try to have a clear, vivid vision of that particular object, but rather try to keep your mind inward. Try not let your mind scatter.
되게 내가 해서도 semba데 계산도 디생 가는 로고 요소나 라사 semba게 라모데 센토미 차고여도 아주 semba데 게이쇼로 로고에는 메게이쇼로 가는 로고에서나 라사 워싱에 차로고여도
So with this kind of practice, what will happen? What is the benefit of engaging in such practices? Because when you are engaging in such practice, will really enable us to refrain from engaging in negative deeds, and it allows us to engage in positive deeds or the virtuous deed. Because normally, what happened with us is like when we are engaging in certain deeds, and we are engaging in deeds that are negative, uncontrollably. But with such a mental training, what will happen to us is we are able to not let, in the initial stage, will not let your actions, engaging in actions that are negative.
근데 제가 semba게 당차될 해요도 이 semba데 일을 주고디 맞저게 메롱 자만으로 존이 샤와나 이게 근데 일을 몇 주나 나서 주두게 세나 슈칭 걸레도에 내가 친구들에도
It's a very important because with this kind of practice, you'll be able to get sembe tangcha, which means the actual clarity of one's mind. When you're able to identify and bring such activation of the clear mind, well then without much efforts, you are able to focus your mind on the object of meditation.
근데서 되게 인지미지 가서 남바이 계셔서 게레모도 신화팀모하게 신내다 받은 로트에게 내가 친구들 있는 거 주고요도
So this is not exclusive to uncommon practice of Buddhism. Rather, this is a practice shared by other, non-Buddhists as well. Because with this kind of practice is an initial practice of perfecting one's practice on shamatha.
나 저기 베베 타니는 시비디 신내세디 쇼와 내바세고 센쇼와 내발라 때네 리신장 때네 그래서 센신의 리신장 도대체디 신도 장비 니 가실 손에 내줘 타네 띵은지 제윤디 왜 주벌 다 대나세고 다 간제 나초에는 게이줄을 제단 된데도 거들어 왔으니데 소속이 배제 상황에서는 리세 강화야 강의명의 차이기 차진된 거 소리여도
So this is, the practice how we begin with the practice of Shine, or the shamatha practice, or the calm abiding, the practice of calm abiding. Shine in Tibetan, which literally means, it literally means you're, calming the calm mind, or calming one's mind, and letting this mind remain in one particular place or one particular event, not letting one's mind, scattered everywhere. So with this kind of practice, the practice of Shini, one will then be able to, achieve what we call Lusum Xinjiang, which means the suppleness of body and mind. And with the achievement of such practice, or the realization of suppleness of body and mind, will then let ourselves to engage in practice without any efforts, and will not have any, you will be engaged in such practice without exhaustions and without tiredness and so forth.
땡은 제가 가지고 다다기 데리소 가지고 되셔 강에 소소 강에 나오는데 지당이 내역에 강에 코너 비비다 된지게 강한테 제도와에서나 소소게 선바당 주고 강가라 네바 텐트에 랭거베 진도아.
So if one is able to continue such practice, particularly at this point, we all know that we are going through such a difficult situations in this world at this point. So if you're able to engage in such practice, will then really, ease your burdens, or it will actually reduce your, burdens of both body and mind.
제 라바딩에 데리 가르라고 전서 다른 가서 강가 노래 주의 되더라 다 가서에는 쟁에 나왔던 와이게 쟁에바데 게이 추서 전나 제기 다 뒤세지 거지로 된들가라야 데스지 산나도노가 데스지라다 전수나다.
So today I will be focusing my talk on how we can, we can maintain our, mind without any distractions, undistracted mind, in other words, and how we can, transform these adverse circumstances into the path, into the spiritual path, and what really, allows us to transform or to convert this adverse circumstances into a positive circumstances or the favorable conditions.
다때는 거네 제가 가서 쟁에 나온도 제토 생기게 대 가담에 나와 저거 로자나 이다가 좀 가버려.
Although it is difficult, we as ordinary practitioners, for us to transform those adverse circumstances into the spiritual path or the practice, or the favorable conditions and favorable circumstances, as those great Kadamba practitioners have done. We need to, however, we need to really to try our best to really to follow their footsteps.
배나 가담에 가면 저기 쟁에 교육규만 있어. 쟁에 발에서나 개화지에게 규마제. 저는 송으로 쟁에 교육규만.
So therefore, the Kadamba practitioners, the great Kadamba practitioners, have said that these adverse circumstances and adverse conditions are the encouragement for enhancement on the development of one's spiritual practice.
쇼진의 나보여는 가서에나 가서다 남비 제나에네 배고 뭐저데 강이지 마잖아. 제 라마 자세로 가지 뭐제서 가지 강이 되는 도체 치치야데 그 라시지 당가서 베비 공실라 라시지여데 예면에 데디지디가라 남에 되는 게 라신지지래.
So it is true, because now in our Tibetan society, when someone is not having any problems, when someone is not, experiencing any problematic going through any problematic situations are not much, they are not really encouraged to engage in any practices and rely upon one's teachers and so forth. It is only when one is going through a certain, difficult circumstances and adverse circumstances, then only they are, remember to rely upon some teachers and get some instructions.
야, 라빠도 가서 다로기 강에 될라 뭐 실로로에 거거든 로면 주의 자체는 강가진의 리나무 뭐지 그거와 인사네 근데 라니 지고기 제거기 자기 뭐지 뒤선 장샤로
So in particular at this point, we are having such a wonderful opportunity to engage in practice, because we are not allowed to go and we're not allowed to socialize as we normally do, right? So we are really having, you should really take this as an opportunity for your development of your spiritual or the Dharma practice.
되지 인류기 내다 지지 되니 가당 속에 가당 벨라마 속에 소지제나 니 나사 디지 샤마에서 나사 디지 샤신에서 나사들 해서나 니 소소기 디파데 디파 마 계져서 샤신에서 소자라.
So therefore, again, it's Kadampa masters have said that once difficult circumstances or the adverse, the difficult experiences that one may have is undergoing, such as sickness and so forth, are said to be the broom of sweeping one's negativity.
대 진세매 버지는 말이야. 저기 지게 선지질로 강에도 담이디가 강요소나 그 지메지메를 때는 거 말이야. 저도 제진 잠벌을 때는 요데 저도 제데 담이디가 저도 제데 도와 인산에 진주긴 저버는 면서는 저도 제데 도와 대 조도 봐. 조소나 야와쇼는 로샤.
So regardless of what kind of difficult circumstances we may experience, the difficulty that we may experience are all coming into being from its own causes and conditions. Those difficult circumstances, do not come into being without any causes and conditions. So as well, such causes and conditions, difficult when we are going through those difficulties, it is because of due to the deep, negative causes and conditions that we have committed ourselves in the past, that we are the one who actually experiencing this as a result as we committed, as we accumulated in the past of such in the past to have such experiences. So therefore, the experience that we have is as a negative experiences, derived from negative causes and conditions. So therefore, certainly, if you're able to think carefully, if you're able to practice those, certainly it will really become a purification of one's negativity.
되지. 그래서 진짜 산나도의 명이 지는 말로. 내가 정근에 제나 지추기 공시 찍고기 산나도 하지 말에. 대리선이 인지미지 추기 레스는 요거예요 말로. 인지미지 따제 전에 렌도문도 간접 연구를 했을 때 베티 가서 나마이 공시대 대리선이 뒤서대 이 공시 배제물로 살아. 니마도와이나 바지 비디는 여바데 그런 인샤셔지는 러시아지요. 다 대리선이 다 쇼진의 정으로 이제 투지 가려서나 문제야 명예되지. 용서 좀 간접전은 따지 맞잖아. 소소 인지미지 띄워던 로고에 생활진의 매와 있잖아요. 진짜 산나도네. 아니 상바조지 저거네를 강에 가르치는 요구도 세대. 그 개념으로 진짜 산도고.
So here now, whatever that I have said, I'm not just saying that we need to believe in it. We need to, have a faith in it. That's not what I'm talking about here. Whatever I said right now, one need to analyze carefully whether this is right or wrong. Is it really correspond to reality, or it's not something that is, really contrary to reality? So it is up to us to think very carefully and analyze carefully, because now, the practicing Dharma and practicing spiritual practice is shifted in a different way, in a in comparison to the past. In the past, that we don't really have much courage to really go through critical analysis of one's practice, but rather one just follow one's teachers and one's parents and so forth. But now many of those practitioners are not really following that line, but rather try to analyze themselves and what is benefited, how can we practice? Is this practice is really something that is relevant to my life or my spiritual practice and so forth? So therefore, with this kind of analysis, will really allows one to, examine one's mind and allows one's mind to follow the right path.
개념은 들려서나 또는 가르쳐 봐야 돼서는 면대버지 체용이 토도 봐봐서는 지 sana 거고 말해. 그냥 가임으로 해서는 베리 가대 잡으면 통해 돼. 그 말이라다. 진짜 sana 빠시나.
So if you're able to really think about all those reasonings and analyze those reasonings, then whenever you come across with such, adverse circumstances, you are able to withstand with such circumstances. We're able to withstand with such difficulties. Because if you're unable to do that, then whenever we go through certain undesirable experiences and we just can't handle it, we become so uncontrollable.
야 손지질에 대도아 제대 제이 춘춘이서 마선 제다 대쇼스에 대한 지 상제기 주 마서 마로바의 시진 리뷰 된다라 추추된 바에서 이게 되게 고알래나요 하드버기 너바시에서는 인지비지 때라 동네면 제어전 고 소소게 로지터래 레송도 가다면 남았어.
So here again, the great Kadamba master have said that if one is, harmed by others, such as, demons and, harmful spirits, and also one's, ordinary enemies and so forth. When this happens, it is beneficial for one to think about all of those are happening due to enhance and develop my practice, spiritual practices, and think about all of those are manifestation of the great beings such as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth. And with this kind of practice, with this kind of following such practice, will really help us to enhance the skillful means and the method for development of one's spiritual path.
this 라니게 메시 디라노로 데서 가르 치바 요르선 페체바 쳔보 베네 나초기 강에 지체선야 가게야 네바데서 해서 그 메신다지 소소는 네바시비 총나 쉬울래는 안고 나제데 콘도도 바 차도데서 쉬우도아 드르메데 다다랑이 드르게 선어 라니 시지 디데 된다라 아니 랑게데 다가제 산제 산제 삼바나제 라니라 라니게 시지 마로바데 조타조이 된다라 나온주데 템바레서 라와예서나 파르콜라 디 계속 내가 찡에 있나야 될라 따도 누자데 진짜 레미도 와.
So when we are going through such difficult circumstances or the difficult experiences, such as you're harmed by other people and one's enemies, and whatever you call that, harmful spirits and so on and so forth. And if you're able to think those as a manifestation of the Buddhas, who are purposely helping you to tame your mind and tame your negative state of mind and transforming your negative state of mind into positive state of minds. So if you're able to engage in such practice, if you're able to think in this way, then even when someone is harming you, you will not become uncontrollable. And it will in fact, reduce yourself from generating negative thoughts and emotions such as anger, hatred, jealousy, and so forth.
되지. 근데 내가 제일 됐어. 됐지 상수 고전은 지다 고전 내가 가서 정으로 오지 미세게 내야 되라. 근데 저저면 장사는 많은 데서는 되는 소리 미세게 뒤질랑 살아나 속에 좀하되게 농소를 지 내가 팽그래. 근데 네 재미 농으로 지다. 근데 뒤질로 고전 비바 차탄 지제. 근데 뒤질라는 가서 정으로 송전도 거기 된다잖아. 정으로 진짜나 걸 됐지 이제 제일 나는 그 까마 봐도 봐서 잘
So, but Rinpoche said that he will be giving some oral transmission today of the Tara mantra. In other words, the Chalanam from the three longevity, the mantras of the deities of three longevities, such as Amitayu, Tara, and Ushnisha Vijaya. So this three mantra oral transmission will be given later, and then this will then be followed by the visualization of those three deities while you're reciting the mantras. But we will take a 15 minutes break right now, and then we will resume our this oral. We will begin by resuming this. We will resume our teachings by giving these oral transmissions later after 15 minutes. So Rinpoche will be reciting those oral transmissions. You all can hear, right?
Yes, we're okay.
So I think it's a really appropriate time for me to give this oral transmission, and it's a great benefits, reciting the three longevities, the mantras of the three longevities deity. So with this, the oral transmission is completed. As I mentioned earlier, it has a great benefits reciting those mantras, having received it, by receiving this oral transmissions of the mantra. So now, whenever you recite mantras of any particular deities, such as Hara or Uchinisha Vijaya or Amitayu and so forth, whenever you recite this mantra, it is appropriate to recite mantra by visualizing deities before oneself at the level of one's forehead. Either one is reciting the white Tara mantra or the green Tara mantra. Well, you have visualized whichever the particular deities that one may have affiliated with, such as green Tara or the white Tara. By visualizing those deities in front of one's forehead, in front of oneself, at the level of one's forehead, and then you are visualizing the sixth syllable at the heart of respective deities or the particular deities, surrounded by the respective mantras of the particular deities. And then following the visualizations of, pouring in nectars. The nectars actually emerges from the mantra and mantra garland at the heart of the deities and entering through the crown of your head and purifying entire negativities, such as sickness, spirit harm, and so forth, are all cleansed and purified. This is how you should follow the visualizations while you're reciting the mantras.
하지 채원을 돼서 가비 진법이 미바 전에 지 내는 디바드리나 지 두더 수급 마바체나 지 추파이드나 마 기니슈체마 대바나 미바체
참고 당부대야 뭐지.
친구지 내외나 어지기리 되라 나서 답이 미바체 아니 어지기리 되라 아니 예텐지 가서 신호 주비 미바체.
So, for instance, if you're reciting the mantras of certain deities, at the first 50 beats of your round of your mala, first 50 beats, while you're counting the mantras and reciting the mantras, imagine that the white nectar emerges from the mantra, six syllable in mantra garland at the heart of deity, and entering through the crown of your head, and purifying all your negativities, sickness, spirit harms, and so forth, and pouring through your lower opening in a form of liquid, thick liquid, in the form of the thick liquid. And this is how you are visualizing the purifying those negativities. And then second half of the mala, which is the 50 beats, the rest of the malas, when you're reciting, then imagine that you have received all those qualities of those great, deities.
아니 야 신로도 주비가라 아니 제가 세다 선나 모토제 이제 제비 미바체 아니 라바데 아니 상추기 산다 돈유도 올라데 니제들이 야 제비 미바체 비가라 아니 대다게 된다 선나 돈 아니 강자 니 양야 지 저기 변의 상추기 산도 좀 배자와이나 저기 상추기 산데 랑기지를 제네가 신절로도 신로시 아 상추 산강 아 신로시 아 되게 배상노를 여바도 고아래 근데 저는 이 하지던 레비도는 또바라지를 제기 강조는 또 두스레노.
So this is, we can also imagine that you are receiving the great blessings from the mantra, from the deities while reciting the mantras. And imagine that by reciting the mantras and following the visualizations while reciting the mantras, imagine that you have all your merits, virtues, the quality of your virtues are increased. And imagine that you have actualized awakening mind, or the bodhicitta, or the wisdom realizing emptiness. And think about that. May whichever the deity that you may be visualizing, may bless me to be able to actualize bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness. So it is very beneficial for oneself when one recites those mantras by imagining that you're actually receiving the blessings of generating bodhicitta and generating wisdom realizing emptiness. It is a very, very helpful and also said to be a quick or the swift attainment of your bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness.
돌아봐도 되레서니 네바 몸보에 종종이 몸보에 강에 체딩 몸보에로 니 더설아니 일단 되지 나가게 하더니 미바지 소하다니 지 강가나래 아니 지 네바 나사 잡이 미바잖아 아까지 나바 통제도 니 레와져서디 다 생이 돈을 진짜 까나게 레와져서데 다 되는시 비전에 건조소마도 매와 될라이니야 자식 강가에 저지 되는 전에 사도는 니 어찌 수요 차고로.
So it will bring out great benefits if one, with your visualization, one includes all the sentient beings, particularly at this point. There are many who are undergoing, sicknesses, and who have, lost their life due to this pandemic and so forth. And by visualizing which are, deities in front of oneself at the level of one's forehead, and think about all those beings in your surrounding, and imagine they are also taking refuge in those great beings. So this will enables one to accumulate a great, tremendous amount of merits and virtue.
yang zhong zhong ge de le bi de ni ji xi de zin de mi ba chen de ma ne de no ya ji ne ba le mi ne ni ji sang je me la de de na ga le mi ba chen ne jing ha sa de de che su ne da shang chu ge san san de jin de je ro da jin le mi ba ja chen bo to ne ni re wa je to wa yin so so ge ge wa lo bo che shu ji sa go ro da jin le pe me de de ka bo re da.
So then we can also include all those beings who have who lost their life by reciting the Chinese mantra or the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, so 6 syllable mantras, and then imagining all those beings who are undergoing sickness right now, who are affected by any kinds of sicknesses and who are undergoing sicknesses in this world, are included in under your prayers and keeping under your prayers and reciting the Medicine Buddha's mantra. So this is one of our practice of Bodhisattva's practice of working for the welfare of other sentient beings, because we are not very sure whether your prayers and your practice will really benefit other beings. Suddenly, it will benefit our own spiritual realization. It will benefit our own practices, which enables us to actually accumulate a tremendous amount of merits and virtue.
근데 제가 소소 게를 계속 가려요. 그래서 다들 강의 수지도 맞서 가르쳐 버려. 당나 가르쳐 버려서 이게 강의 될 주투도 와. 그래서 이제라 이 레와 로보 수치 뭐 제투에게 소소 산하지도나 소소 강의 최다야. 대장지 강의 수치 뭐 돈에 좀 어떤 게 차금도 와.
When you have such mental attitude, when you cultivate such mental attitudes of working for the welfare of other sentient beings, selflessly working for the welfare of other sentient beings, which actually, reduces the intensity of our self-cherishing mind. By means of reducing the intensity of our self-cherishing mind, we'll then be able to, enable one to withstand with any difficult situation one may have faced, one may is undergoing.
라바드 정론지 가서 년자된 좋았던 송도도 인지미지 상바다 저와의 수치만 용소나 주고게 네버소에라 편도요레스 근데 당한 가르쳐서는 근데 이제 레메 점이 리뷰선 차고 말했습니다.
His Holiness has mentioned during one of his teachings last time by saying that if you're able to practice, meditate and practice love and compassion, will enhance and develop your physical ability, your physical strength.
되지. 다 대바된 되지. 다 그래서 가서 가서 정원론지 니마송로 소제는 저도 강거기 차선 쉐어라스면라다.
I'm wondering, all of you may, any of you, or maybe all of you, may had an opportunity to receive the teachings of His Holiness. Recently he has given the teachings of 3 days teachings, and I'm wondering whether you have received or not.
됐어. 에네스 그거니 쉐도와. 에네스 지금 배지 그거 뭐지 쉐도야서 말이야.
Probably many of you may have not received the teachings. Maybe you are not noticed. I mean, you are not, informed.
시도문데 야야. 내 개념아 내가 전부 정으로 지게 손저대 송이 마마게 손저대라고 말이 그래서 손저대 정으로 손저대 내가 전부 쇼래라다.
So I would encourage, all of you, if you have time, you can take this opportunity to receive the teachings. So very, very important to receive His Holiness teachings at this point.
니마 손저에 나라마 쪽이 샤기라고 지다 그로 중 코로나는 만들어내 시작되는 손도에 제로. 뒤서 정으로 지 손저대 말이 정으로 지 손저대 가사 코로 게라 가르쳐 봐대 손셔야지.
So now the way of teachings of His Holiness Dalai Lama is completely changed. If you look at it, if you receive his teachings, long time ago, His Holiness was giving the teachings based on whatever that is written in the scripture, following the scriptures very strictly, and giving the teachings in a traditional way, in a very traditionally he has given these teachings. But now, the way he is giving teaching, the style of his teaching is completely shift. And whatever that is suited for the individual who approach him for receiving his teachings, he teaches them based on the inclination and the mental disposition of the individual who approach him for his teachings.
라바든 자블리 데노로라 돈이 도벨로데 상추기 생년은 냐뉴여기 메지 서여를 세서나 땅아주 생년을 얻지마 돼요 말이야. 대장으로 지내는다.
So now, if we were to ask that, who can you pinpoint someone who achieved bodhicitta and who attained wisdom realizing emptiness? We can undoubtedly, without any doubt, we can pinpoint one person, that is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Then also at the same time, if we were to ask that who has a genuine concern for entire sentient beings in this world, we cannot pinpoint anyone other than His Holiness. And then another question that one may ask to oneself, that who would be the person can go with shoulder to shoulder with the different religious traditions, the leaders of the different religious traditions, and not only religious practitioners, but also scientists and so forth. In this world, who can we be able to pinpoint? I would say that there's any other beings who can do that other than His Holiness. So here is the evidence that we can why I'm saying that is His Holiness is only one who have achieved. We can pinpoint a person, an individual who achieved this great spiritual realization, such as bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness. It's because His Holiness has mentioned several times by saying that he has been meditating on emptiness for last 60 plus years. And then he also mentioned that he has been meditating on bodhicitta for last 50 plus years. But if we were to ask ourselves, consider ourselves as a practitioners of the bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness, probably we may not have completed 60 days. So it is therefore His Holiness, encourages us and giving these teachings, from his own experiential knowledge, not just the intellectual teachings, but experientially, by saying that you should follow the practice in accordance with the Perfection Sutra, where it is mentioned that Tadyata, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi, Swaha. So His Holiness said that if you want to follow such path, I will show you this path. Follow me. So this has happened in the past as well. The great Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have said that I have ventured on such a path and achieved state of enlightenment. You may also follow the footsteps, my footsteps, to venture on such path. However, we haven't been able to pay much attention to it. We have not really, put in effort to follow their footsteps. But now at this point, now His Holiness is saying now, this is the path that I have ventured. May you also, those who are long to achieve liberation in state of enlightenment, must follow such path. But at the same time, due to our laziness, we are really unable to follow His path, to follow His footsteps precisely.
대 정으로 거는 다 정으로 뭐 지금 가서 잠들리는 따당 거는 게 대신 되게 저게 한 번에도 개차 마시다 정으로 지금 공식 가르도 샬레 가르나도 세야 될 거라 시어에는 이제 가서 카톡 이야다 지게 잠들리는 대나 이어 말해서 돼 줄로게 텐션을 거 두자 거시기로 와.
So whatever I have said about His Holiness, I praise His Holiness greatly. It's not something that he is Buddhist master. I myself is Buddhist, or he's Buddhist master. So therefore, I praise him. This is not, my intention of telling all of you that he is the only one who can do this and that. Rather, if you look at his activities, in his lifetime, the achievement and his beneficial act for others will really witness and enables you to know that he is the only one who has done all these things, as I mentioned earlier.
예, 다가 저기 정으로 지게 맞춰라 따당데 간데 샬레 나오도 세요지 누가 미진이 비차는 누가 뭘 지속이 뒤시에 거도 세다 할래기 대로 가서 나오지 없지.
So one of the profound teaching His Holiness always give, although if you do not think very carefully, this particular teaching may seem like a very common teaching or something that is very simple. But if you really think very carefully, it's so profound that he always said it. All sentient beings as a human being, as myself, who long to achieve happiness and overcome sufferings, one must look at all sentient beings as equal and have wish happiness for other beings as we wish for ourselves. This is a great teaching.
내가 가르 정으로 지때 가르시고 그래서는 대로 몇진 매혼을 해서는 콜라나서 가르도 다 잠벌리게 강에도 가르도 체도 됐다는데 누가 미긴 뒤시
I'm losing
강체보다 지바로
soon this my chedut.
알레
soon chedut.
이 하파리 저는 되나 그래서
I'm the frequency is not that good. I just keep losing.
괜히 와가대 나한테 정으로 지듯이 할래.
Yeah, it's not just you.
예, 언제냐서 시작해.
That's what I'm saying.
또 된대로 하게 나 소산도 몇진 미혼을 해서 와이나 몇달나 나사 강에 가려도 돼. 다다되게 따그러 와. 대나 희인 잠벌린데 이도 강에데 가려도나 체기도 있으네. 정으로만 체기 맞세와 쳔도 지이무데. 아니 도와미 인디시 기소메 비토네. 따당 기소메 비토네 강에 제거도 지버러 와. 고사르게.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's a little bit, the Rinpoche's voice is a little weak, and I just can't get it very clearly. But I think I got this right now. So just as when the patient approach physician with the hope of alleviating his or her physical illnesses, and similarly from the physician's side, try to examine that patient and to overcome whatever the sicknesses and illnesses as such an individual has. Similarly, His Holiness, the way he is looking towards all sentient beings in this world, is to really to look at and examining what really causes us all this kind of unending sufferings. What is the condition, causes and condition lie behind our sufferings and so forth.
다 텔라 가르고르 세데니 샴바다 세와 거래 세라 위디로와 로미 지송을 샴바다 세와게 따다 지발해서나 아니 강에 진의 책임 말이.
So therefore, His Holiness said, now for that, to overcome the suffering and achieving happiness for all sentient beings in this world, is to practice loving kindness. So loving kindness, if you're able to cultivate such a loving kindness and propagate such teachings, and by spreading such teachings to other beings, then this is the particular remedy for our sufferings and difficulties.
네. 다 샤신이 버세네리 당전이 버세네리 샬레니 버데 잠벌리는 강에니 버데 가리고는 제기도 소리 줄루 팅칭고는 제기도 단지 동보데 미리 연제고는 제기도 다 줄루 팅칭고는 제기도 인지 미지 줄루 팅칭고도 사네 뒤고는 깔레 쉬지 나고요.
So therefore, His Holiness is emphasized, and always we must look at all beings as all sentient beings as oneself, as who wish to achieve happiness and overcome sufferings. And then the second thing that he would always emphasize is to maintain a harmonic relationship among the religious traditions, different religious traditions, particularly the four major religious traditions in this world. That is one of His Holiness's focus.
다 되게 찾아달라 아니 줄루 뒤주기 단달라 당아서 배반 농콩 깨지만 세워진 잠을리 중요하게 줄루 더 넣어라 샬렌 나오네 배준제 미통 라세 텐데 된대로와.
So we all witness that, right? He's trying his best to bring all those different religious traditions in this world together, and maintaining this harmonious relationship among the different religious traditions in the world.
다 견주기 튀주다 신소 잠들리 신소의 야제 간지 나오고도 세요디 단다 벌 쉬가 저기 주고 초탁이 야제라다 패 셀에 개번도 사원이잖아 다 가리도는 나고면도 세는 소요디 아니 나 다 12톤에서 그래 다나 12톤을 야제 돈에 아니 세와기 돈에 튀주기 돈에 야제 돈고도 세네 아니 세리던 제비톤에 아니 자 생각지 발생인데 세리노를 주네 할래게 사도.
So then here His Holiness has always mentioned that when it comes to the our development of external resources, in other words our external needs, external developments, we made a tremendous development, developing all kinds of things that's beneficial to oneself, putting all those efforts to bring forth, a tremendous developments, the external developments. Now external developments, wealth and so forth, alone will not really be helpful for oneself. So what is lacking right now is that we are lacking genuine practice of loving kindness towards all beings. It is for this purpose His Holiness has emphasized on, studying the Buddhist psychology, and and then he is actually putting this Buddhist psychology in the modern psychology and having a dialogue with the scientists to promote, human value and the happiness of human beings in this world. It is something really, really marvelous, the noble actions that he have done so far.
대로 개념아 가사 생강 리바당 다 가제 생리 깨다 치리 치지 선들이 뭔셔지 아니 생강 리바이 돈올라 타 녀볼해 차에 아니 자와 생에된 준소 놀로 거바 대양 치리바게 따당 할래 슈침벌해 차에 아니 땡제 생에데 배지 자자 돈은 자자 배지 가지고 가는 레싱에 땡제기 과랭이 그래서 뭔셔지 정보로 뭐 저랑이 두지까지 선들이 샬렌나 벌에 되는 중앙지래도
So I really feel that, now even the scientists are paying really close attention to understand the human psychology. The studies of psychology and development of positive state of mind, such as loving kindness towards other beings. Even the scientists are looking positively towards such practices, development of such practices. And also, out of, I would, safely say that out of 100, at least 50% of scientists would really appreciate the Buddhist teachings on the dependent originations. And those, educations or the knowledge of development of loving kindness that all the scientists, many well-known scientists are interested in, it's because of the contribution made by His Holiness, the noble contribution made by His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
다 전적이 세다 되면지 용발라 가르리서 놓으라 소정 제거를 세윤이 아니 나래까지 정말 소정 제는 마도 다 소정에서 되는 마도 진이 매바디 지네 나 나래까지 가사다 간제 용성버데 빼기 나서에는 나주베비 개차 말에 전적이 단지게 아주 정보데 진소 놓으라 차베잖아 소정 가를 제거를서나 나래까지 정말 제거를 해서 아니 야와 이르정이 바데 야제 동안 되래도
So now, in order to have such authentic, to receive such authentic studies and education of inner value, such as psychology and development of compassion and love and so forth, His Holiness is then focuses on, emphasize on studying, following the studies of the Nalanda traditions. He's not particularly saying that he doesn't have any intention of spreading Buddha Dharma or the Buddhist religion, but rather he would say that follow the studies of the Nalanda tradition, and so therefore one of His Holiness's the major commitment is to restore and revitalize the ancient Indian traditions.
됐지. 나선 나선한테 내가 나상 건지 평양 건지 이제 자자다 용수 줘버린 건지 제시하고 왔다. 잠을 진용 이찬래다.
So this is how His Holiness examine, just like the physicians examine the patients, what kind of sickness the patient has, what is the source of this sicknesses that patient is actually suffering, and similarly His Holiness is now examining what is lacking. Though that we have made a lot of external development, but we are lacking. There, all of beings within this planet Earth are not really satisfied and not really happy. So it is due to the lack of inner development.
되게 저때 정으로 가디언의 상제기 손의 장외와 세대에 있어야 돼. 제바전에 켈렘바데 레마도 대파였으는 양내 제바데 내 말했으면 소로 나와서 규심이 있어야 돼. 제바전에 켈렘바지 제선라는 마도 대파도 되게 제선로 말했어. 아바도 가서 재미 정도는 시에디 리파당가 유타 켈레는 마음바 재미 집으면 있어야 돼. 쉬우지로 하던 거 비내지던 계속하이나 최세계 자금하러 와.
So therefore, His Holiness always, quotes one of the Buddha's own word by saying that the great bhikshus and the scholars must not follow out of devotion to me, to my teachings, but rather one must undertake, undertake thorough investigations of the teachings, and the teachings are something that is relevant and something that is beneficial to you, you can take it. Otherwise, you should not follow my teachings out of, just faith and devotions. So therefore, what he is suggesting here is, it is it is very important for us to, whatever the teaching that one is receiving, it's analyzed. Just not, such and such teaching is given by such teachers, and you should not take it, and you should not, take it as out of respect and out of devotions and so forth. And similarly, we find in the Tsema teachings or the Pramana Vartika, the text called the Pramana Vartika by the great Indian masters, where it says that if the reasoning is something that is contradictory to the valid cognition, and then whoever the teaching that is given is not an authentic teacher.
아니 게데리 미셀로게 된가서 제다에나 베미 진주산나 베바기 단다 진다 주비 림비타리 지네 로시마이 다리 진다 주비타리 손제바도 아니 정원어지 가진제데 이제는 소소소 차셔내거도 데데네는 가서 소소게네 자일나마게 다지 데스 가시 줘야기 된다도 이제 강가기 디쇼런 로투다사네 아니 다 결론을 지죄네 쇼바인스라다.
So the reason I have talked a little bit about His Holiness today is because it was announced that from this July 1st all the way till the 30th of July, we are requested to, pray for the long life of His Holiness, and so that he can work for the work for the welfare of other sentient beings. And it is for this, as myself, as the student of His Holiness, I thought this is my responsibility to mention a little bit about His Holiness's noble activities today.
네, 정원이 지금 수비, 네 집에 담아다 그새 집에 땜받아. 근데 새로 근데 이신 인시는 zembi 네 절로 걸어지라다 되는 거 소개와.
So let's finally dedicate our merits that we have accumulated today towards particularly towards the longevity of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and as well as the great masters on this planet Earth, and may we always encounter the qualified teachers, the authentic teachers, so that we can receive the teachings.
야, 다 가서 공한테 책임이다. 이제 자체 된동이다.
So let's do the regular dedication prayers.
제만 가서 전에 나리 얘기만 산산도 막 갈래갈래만 로그인다.
So next teaching, I will be focusing on Lamrim Chamu. We'll resume the Lamrim teachings from next week.
다게 주님 사비 교만데 대단 저와 견나 감베 제바 예제로 상자 엠베 님보 도 세제 쇼 사제 베제 쇼제 메도 제로 리제 니데 제바 상제 신도 미데 베와이 로그나다 신노 셔바쇼 제와 근도 양다 나마 제메 주제 변라 노시진 사다 랑제 유데 로도 도제 창게 고보니도 쇼 에네 린도 베 소니 Kodo Yambo Gongshi Sabo Mare Kedon Dowa Nandre Jaye Ombo Doji Shenbin Zero Gundo Yang Jambe Yang Zebe Jizon Rinpa Gyunsan Nangje Nian Zhubi Jian Nishi Shu Rangi Jijin Dobi Nangje Xiu Zha Zewe Zhangye Dage Goyue Yiji Minba Sixin Jiaye Denpa Yurin Zinju Ji Denpa Renqin Zhuge Ma Jiao Jiao Jiang Nyangpa Jibi Shu De Nian Ji Qinbi Yi Ro Jiu Ba Yi Pi Di De De Se Wa Xie Ba Shu Se Jin Jia Yi Mi Zhong Chen Le Le Ru Shang Rin Bie Zhang An De Nan Ji Yi An Bie De Xin Jia Yi Ze Ren Du Zhong Ju Men Mi Ge Se Ro Gun Du Jia Yi Ma Ba Lan Dang Zhe Wa Ma Ju Tie Ba Chu La Qi Xie Ji Qi Jin Zhu La Zhen Ba Tie Bie Zi Du Dian Nang Ji Da Du Zhu Xi Jin Zha Xi Jiang Zi Shu Gun Chao Ju Ji Ju Lang Min Gu Ce Rao Din Nang Guo Chen Le Shu Zhi Ji Ba Luo Zang Din Bi Zhen Min Sa Song Ji Zhou Yi Min Se Da Du Nian Ju Ji Gang Zhe Rao Yun Guo Yun Xin Gang Bian Dang De Wa Ma Lin Zhong Yue Xin Zhe Zi Wang Din Zhi Da Zuo Yi Xiao Bei Xin Din Ba Du Din Ju Ji Jiang Bei Ba Yue Zhi Da Qin Ba Bo Dian Yang Di Xin Dian De Da Gun Ji Ji Sen Da Nong Ge Wan De Da Tang Jie Rou Du Du Song Xie Bin Jia Wan Tang Jie Wang Wan Gang La Chu Du Wang Ba De Da Xin Ge Yue Za Wan Du Gun Jiang Zong Bo Xie Xie Rao Du Wang Wan. Okay, thank you.